Claire Donovan gazed at the clock on the hospital wall, swaying softly as she held her newborn son close. 3 in the morning. Feedings had transformed into her routine, the serene corridors of the pediatric ward her familiar sanctuary. Her scrubs from the previous shift were crammed into her bag, swapped out for the cozy sweater and jeans she had hastily put on when Leo's monitors began to beep. It was merely a false alarm, the night nurse had reassured her, yet Claire found herself unable to step away. She gently explored Leo's flawless features with her fingertip, the delicate shape of his nose and the soft curve of his cheeks, so fragile, so cherished, and entirely hers. Well, not completely hers, but the other half of Leo's DNA hadn't deserved the right to claim him. "Everything will be all right, my dear," she murmured, gently kissing his forehead. Mom's got this under control. In reality, she was still navigating the complexities of life, balancing night shifts as a pediatric nurse, Leo's medical appointments, and the ongoing concern about his heart condition left her in a state of constant fatigue. The apartment she had quickly secured after parting with their shared home felt tight, yet its proximity to the hospital served her well for both her job and Leo's regular checkups. Her phone vibrated with a message from Dr. Lucas Bennett, indicating a meeting with the cardiac team at 9. "I'll bring the coffee." Lucas had been her steadfast support these past months, a colleague, a friend, and a dedicated champion for Leo's care. His kindness eased the sting of Leo's father's absence just a bit. 3 floors above, Nathan Sterling exited his Tesla, casually passing the keys to the valet without a second look. His meticulously crafted charcoal suit and assured gait signaled that he was a person for whom opportunities effortlessly presented themselves. As the head of Sterling Investments, his most recent acquisition, this very hospital, was merely another addition to his expanding collection of assets. His assistant's voice echoed in his earpiece, reminding him that the board was waiting in conference room A. "Let's extend it by 15 minutes, Nathan said, glancing at his Rolex. "I would like to start with a tour of the neonatal wing. Today we are delving into the topic of renovations." His phone vibrated incessantly. Correspondence from Tokyo, phone calls from New York, communications from his executive team. Nathan flourished in this constant whirlwind, energized by the rush of negotiations and choices. This was the path he had selected, the path that had taken away his marriage. He brushed off another call from his assistant as he stepped into the hospital lobby, his mind racing with calculations about the potential returns from the expansion of the medical facility. The figures were remarkable, marking yet another victory for Sterling Investments. Nathan ascended in the elevator to the pediatric floor, exchanging nods with doctors who acknowledged him as the new proprietor. He hardly acknowledged their anxious grins. People often felt a sense of unease in his presence. Authority wielded such influence. As he rounded the corner leading to the neonatal unit, he meticulously observed the surroundings, cataloging in his mind the areas that required improvement, when suddenly he froze in place. There, beyond the glass windows of the nursery, sat Claire. Her Claire. No, it no longer belongs to him. It had been 3 years since he opted for a business trip instead of celebrating their anniversary dinner. Not since she had finally ceased hoping he would make their marriage a priority. Not since she had gathered her belongings while he was finalizing another agreement in Singapore. Yet, it wasn't merely the sight of Claire that caused his heart to race within his chest. It was the essence of her embrace. A tiny infant, cradled gently in the bend of her arm, with delicate tubes linked to the monitors positioned next to the rocking chair. Nathan felt a parched sensation in his throat, his thoughts whirling with a flurry of intricate calculations. The divorce was finalized just over 9 months ago. The infant appeared fresh from the womb. Is it feasible? Before he could fully grasp this notion, Claire glanced up, her gaze connecting with his through the glass. The surprise on her face swiftly transformed into an inscrutable expression, neither anger nor fear, but rather a protective shield solidifying around her. She averted her gaze, positioning herself to protect the infant from his sight. Nathan remained motionless, the hospital corridor abruptly swirling around him. After years of wielding power over billion-dollar enterprises, the man found himself in an unprecedented state of helplessness. Is that possibly my child? The thought reverberated in his mind as he observed Claire lean in to murmur something to the baby, her lips gently grazing its forehead, a gesture so delicate it stirred an unexpected ache in his chest. Remorse. Nathan remained frozen in place, the business meeting slipping from his mind. Through the glass, Claire kept rocking the baby, intentionally steering clear of his gaze. His heart raced in his chest as he opened the door to the nursery. "Claire," he uttered, his voice surprisingly rough. She glanced upward, her demeanor cautious. "Nathan, what a surprise to find you here. The hospital represents my latest venture." The words echoed emptily, even to him. "I had no idea you were part of this place. I made the transfer 6 months ago." Her hands instinctively gripped the baby, who shifted a little. Nathan moved in, his gaze locked on the tiny package before him. "Is that Leo?" She interrupted him. "He goes by the name Leo." The inquiry lingered on Nathan's lips, yet just as he was about to voice it, the door swung open behind him. Dr. Lucas Bennett entered the room, coffee cups in hand, pausing abruptly as he caught sight of Nathan. "Mr. Sterling," Lucas remarked, his tone formal yet distant, "I wasn't informed of your visit to this wing today. Is Dr. Bennett available?" Nathan nodded with a certain rigidity, observing as the doctor positioned himself next to Claire, placing a coffee cup on the table beside her. The gesture conveyed so much safeguarding, known close. A heavy stillness enveloped the room, interrupted solely by the rhythmic beeping of Leo's monitors. Nathan experienced a profound sense of being an unwelcome observer in a moment that was not meant for his eyes. "Claire, may I have a moment of your time?" Nathan finally posed the question. In a discreet manner, she shared a glance with Lucas, whose expression darkened. "I'm not going to leave Leo at this moment," she stated. "It holds significance." "This is it," she said, nodding toward the baby. Nathan stifled his irritation. "Does he belong to me?" Claire flinched at the directness of his question. Her gaze deepened, and when she uttered a word, her tone was as frigid as winter's breath. "You forfeited the privilege to inquire about that ages ago, Nathan." Lucas advanced with purpose. "Mr. Sterling, I believe it would be best for you to take your leave." "Stay out of this," Nathan snapped, his composure beginning to unravel. "This matter is private, shared only between my wife and me." "Ex-wife," Claire corrected with a sharp tone, "and Dr. Bennett is Leo's physician. He is fully entitled to be here." Nathan raked his fingers through his hair, battling to maintain control over his swirling emotions. "Claire, I implore you, just respond to me." She rose gracefully, gently settling Leo into his bassinet. "I have no words for you. Your decision 3 years ago clearly indicated that your business took precedence over our marriage. That seems unjust." "Unjust?" Her laughter carried a sharp edge. "Are you aware of what's unjust, Nathan? Spending countless nights in anticipation for a partner who never returned. Envisioning a future alongside someone who remains fixated on the immediate transaction. That seems unjust." Nathan experienced a pang of guilt, yet he brushed it off. "If that child belongs to me, I deserve to be informed." "Entitlements?" Claire's voice lifted a notch before she quickly composed herself, stealing a glance at Leo. In a softer voice, she carried on. "You speak of rights while turning your back on every obligation that didn't align with your cherished enterprise." "I was unaware." She interrupted him, clearly indicating that he didn't want to hear it. "And now, all of a sudden, you find yourself intrigued. What is the reason?" "Because it could disrupt your ideal existence." Lucas brushed his fingers softly against her arm. "Claire, your blood pressure is due for a check. Do you recall our previous conversation?" She inhaled deeply, her demeanor shifting to one of tranquility. "It's time for you to leave, Nathan. I have no words for you." Nathan glanced from Claire to Lucas, and then to the peacefully sleeping baby. A force within him stood resolute, unwilling to yield. "I will have my legal team reach out to you." "Certainly," Claire remarked with a hint of exhaustion, "as that's your go-to method for resolving everything, isn't it? Involving legal professionals and financial resources." The allegations pierced through him, yet Nathan held his ground with unwavering poise. "This is far from finished, Claire." He exited the nursery, retrieving his phone as he strolled along. As he approached his car, he had already reached out to his lawyer and a private investigator. If Claire refused to provide him with answers, he would seek them out on his own. That evening, Nathan positioned himself beside the expansive windows of his penthouse, a glass of scotch cradled in his hand. The city lights below often brought him a sense of tranquility, serving as a reminder of all he had accomplished. This evening, they appeared far away, devoid of significance. He gazed at his image in the glass, triumphant, commanding, solitary. For years, he had persuaded himself that this was his desire, that Claire was the one who had abandoned their relationship, not him. Yet the vision of her cradling that baby, Leo, lingered in his thoughts. Had he turned his back on more than just a crumbling union? Nathan gulped down his scotch in a single breath. If that child were his, everything would shift, and Nathan Sterling was not a man who welcomed change beyond his control. 3 days later, the report from the private investigator arrived on Nathan's desk. He opened it with a flick, his eyes darting over the contents, irritation mounting with each passing moment. Claire had meticulously concealed her movements. After their divorce, she departed from her previous hospital role, altered her phone number, and relocated to a simple apartment close to the children's hospital. The report established that Leo was born 7 months following the finalization of their divorce. The moment quickened his pulse. If Leo arrived early, which is not unusual with heart conditions, the timeline coincided perfectly with their last evening together before the final dispute that concluded their marriage. Nathan pursued the legal path next, but his attorney brought him some disappointing news. The lawyer clarified over the phone that she is not obligated to undergo a paternity test unless the court mandates it. Furthermore, without significant evidence proving paternity, the court is unlikely to pursue the matter, particularly considering the child's medical condition. What medical condition? Nathan insisted, his grip on the phone tightening. The attorney took a moment to gather their thoughts. The report from the investigator notes the occurrence of routine cardiology appointments. Leo Donovan was born with a congenital heart defect. Nathan concluded the call, the news striking him with an intensity he hadn't anticipated. If Leo were indeed his son, he was a troubled child of whom Nathan had no knowledge. The idea stirred something within him that he had long thought was asleep. He drove to the hospital not as its proprietor, but as a man in pursuit of clarity. He noticed Dr. Bennett exiting the cardiac ward and trailed him to the cafeteria. Dr. Bennett, Nathan approached the table where Lucas sat in solitude. Lucas raised his gaze, a shadow crossing his face. Mr. Sterling, I'm currently taking my break. I would like to have a conversation with you. Nathan took a seat without an invitation. Concerning Claire and Leo, that's not my place, Lucas replied, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. Are you connected with her? The question emerged with more intensity than Nathan had meant to convey. Lucas's eyebrows arched in surprise. That's really not something you need to concern yourself with. It feels as though that child belongs to me. Lucas observed him intently for an extended period. What's with the sudden interest, Sterling? Your name carries weight before you even arrive. Committed to your organization, separated from all that surrounds. Nathan inclined his body, eager and attentive. Simply share it with me. Are you the father of Leo? To his surprise, Lucas let out a brief, mirthless chuckle. I'm not the father, Nathan, but had you been present, you wouldn't be posing this question to me now. The response left Nathan breathless. Thus, he belongs to me. I never stated that. Lucas rose, collecting his belongings. Ultimately, the decision of what Claire chooses to share rests solely with her. However, be aware of this. She has endured unimaginable challenges over the past few months. Leo's situation is critical. He requires a sense of stability. Not some corporate mogul who suddenly thinks stepping into a fatherly role could be intriguing. You have no idea who I am, Nathan said, his teeth clenched tightly. I possess sufficient knowledge. Lucas's voice took on a gentler tone. I've gathered the remnants you abandoned. Sterling, if you plan to re-enter their lives, make certain you're prepared for the consequences that come with it. Nathan was left sitting alone. The cafeteria was suddenly overwhelming, filled with blinding light and cacophonous noise, overwhelmed by families that echoed the loss he felt within. The following day, Nathan stood outside the hospital, propped against his car. As Claire stepped out from the staff entrance, she halted abruptly at the sight of him. "Are you following me now?" she inquired, shifting her bag on her shoulder. "It's time for a conversation, Claire." Nathan advanced with purpose. "Not as adversaries. Not involving attorneys. Silence speaks volumes. There is so much to express." He obstructed her way, not menacing but determined. "I wish to avoid any involvement with investigators or legal disputes. Simply share the reality with me. Could I be Leo's father?" Claire's eyes sparkled with fury, then settled into a weary acceptance. She surveyed the parking lot, then turned her gaze back to Nathan. "Indeed," she finally uttered the word, and it struck him with the force of a tangible impact. "Indeed, he belongs to you." Nathan sensed the ground tremble under him. A dad. He held the role of a father. "Why didn't you share that with me?" he successfully inquired. "When was the right moment for me to share this with you, Nathan?" "Throughout our divorce, when you were preoccupied and unable to be present at the hearings. During your time in Dubai finalizing that hotel agreement. Or perhaps it was during our last argument, when you mentioned that a child would merely divert your focus from your cherished career." The recollection hit him. A fierce exchange, phrases hurled like projectiles. He had uttered those words, brushing aside her longing for a family with such indifference. "I was already expecting at that time," Claire continued, her voice trembling just a bit. "I had everything arranged for that evening, a lovely dinner planned, and a small gift box containing baby shoes ready to share with you. However, you were quite explicit about your priorities." Nathan was overcome with a wave of nausea. "Claire, I was unaware." She clarified that you weren't interested in knowing. "Following that night, I resolved that my child deserved more than a father who viewed him as a burden." The sting of her words was undeniable, yet Nathan found himself unable to refute them. In his relentless pursuit of greatness, he had unwittingly shattered the very core of what truly held significance. "I wish to see him," Nathan murmured, "to truly meet him." Claire gazed at him intently, her eyes scanning his features. At last, she gave a nod of agreement. "On the morrow. Arrive at 2. But Nathan," her tone grew steely, "refrain from making commitments that you cannot fulfill. Leo faces plenty of challenges already. There's no need to add disappointment to the mix." Nathan reached Claire's apartment precisely at 2 o'clock, a plush bear cradled under his arm. He paused before knocking, a wave of uncertainty washing over him. For a man accustomed to making million-dollar decisions with ease, the simple act of meeting his own son filled him with dread. Claire opened the door, her demeanor cautious. She donned casual jeans and a cozy sweater, her hair swept back in a carefree ponytail, a stark contrast to the polished corporate wives Nathan usually mingled with, yet somehow more captivating than he recalled. "You arrived," she remarked, moving aside to allow him entry. "I stated my intention to do so." Nathan stepped into the modest apartment, instantly appreciating its straightforward charm. There are no lavish decorations or costly artwork. Simply cozy, familiar furnishings, thoughtfully positioned in a space clearly tailored for a baby's requirements. A stark contrast to his pristine penthouse. By the window, in a bassinet, Leo rested, his small hands clenched into little fists atop a soft blue blanket. Nathan moved forward with caution, his heart racing in his chest. "He's resting," Claire murmured gently. "This morning he had tests that drained his energy." Nathan nodded, speechless as he looked down at his son. Leo's visage exuded tranquility as he slumbered, his chest gently rising and falling with every breath. A slender tube extended from his nose to a compact oxygen tank positioned next to the bassinet, while a monitor emitted soft, rhythmic blinks in the vicinity. "He's perfect," Nathan whispered, gently placing the bear on the ground. She nodded in agreement, a true smile momentarily warming her expression. "Despite it all, he remains flawless." Nathan cleared his throat, grappling with a surge of unexpected emotion. "Please, share details about his condition." Claire indicated the sofa with a wave of her hand. As they sat, she articulated in precise language that failed to mask her suffering. "It is referred to as hyperplastic left heart syndrome. The left side of his heart, in essence, failed to develop correctly. He has undergone one surgery so far, but additional procedures will be necessary, ultimately leading to a transplant. A transplant, Nathan echoed, astonished. When will it happen? In the coming months, preferably. He's on the list, but pediatric hearts, her voice faded, are uncommon, Nathan concluded. The ramifications struck him profoundly. While his son battled for survival, Nathan remained entirely unaware, consumed by the pursuit of acquisitions and profit margins. What should I do? He inquired. Claire's gaze held a hint of doubt. What brings you to this moment, Nathan? After all this time, what has sparked your sudden interest? It's because he's my son, Nathan stated plainly. The weight of those words struck him, surprising and intense. He was still your son when I expressed my desire for a family. The memory stung as Nathan recalled how unmistakably you had expressed that children were not in your vision. I acknowledge my mistake. Were you? Or are you simply swept away by the excitement of realizing you have a child? Claire's voice took on a steely edge. Since Leo is not just another fleeting business endeavor to get enthusiastic about for a short time before shifting focus to something else. Her words pierced deeply, for they held an undeniable truth. Nathan perpetually pursued the next milestone, the next success, never satisfied with what he had already attained, including his marriage. Before he could reply, Leo began to stir, emitting soft, fussing sounds. Claire swiftly approached him, lifting him effortlessly with her practiced skill. Nathan observed, captivated, as she held their son gently against her shoulder, whispering tenderly to calm him. Would you care to hold him? She inquired, catching Nathan off guard. He nodded, a wave of anxiety washing over him. Claire gently nestled Leo into his embrace, carefully positioning his hands to ensure the baby's head was well supported. Nathan looked down at his son's face, now alert and meeting his gaze with dreamy blue eyes. Hello, Leo, he murmured gently, sensing a bond that went beyond reason or corporate tactics. This was raw, elemental, a parent acknowledging their offspring. Leo's small hand grasped Nathan's finger with unexpected vigor. In that instant, what once appeared to be paramount, transactions, financial ventures, the relentless pursuit of riches, now seemed empty when measured against this singular, flawless connection. He needs that transplant, Nathan said, glancing up at Claire. No matter the expense or the effort required, I will ensure it comes to fruition. Claire's demeanor grew resolute. This is not a problem that can be solved with financial resources. Nathan. So what is it that you seek from me? He inquired, irritation creeping into his tone. I don't want anything from you, she replied. The inquiry stands. What are you prepared to offer? Leo? It's not merely about finances or relationships, but rather the investment of time, the dedication, and the consistency that you could never offer to our union. Nathan gazed down at Leo, who had drifted off to sleep in his embrace. The infant's chest gently rose and fell with delicate breaths, while the monitor nearby recorded every cherished heartbeat. I want to try, he said softly. I understand that I may not be worthy of another opportunity, yet Leo truly deserves a father. Claire remained quiet for an extended pause, observing him intently. At last, she gave a nod of agreement. You may go see him, but Nathan, with her gaze fixed on his, be cautious not to promise what you cannot fulfill. Leo's life is already filled with complexities. He doesn't need the weight of disappointment on his shoulders. Nathan gently returned Leo to Claire, their fingers lightly grazing each other in the moment. I will not disappoint him, nor you. As he stepped out of the apartment, Nathan sensed a transformation within, a realignment of his priorities that no corporate gathering or negotiation had ever evoked. After a long time, his thoughts shifted from aspirations of gain to reflections on potential losses. Nathan stepped back into his office the following day, infused with a renewed sense of determination. He assigned meetings to his executive team and freed up his afternoon, a move his assistant couldn't recall him ever making before. He instructed her to cancel his flight to Chicago and to reschedule the investor call. But sir, that arrangement has been in development for months, she argued. Nathan hesitated, the familiar urge to focus on work momentarily clashing with his fresh commitment. can hold off for another week. I have more pressing concerns to address at this moment. By noon, he had reached out to the leading pediatric cardiac specialists in the nation and set up consultations regarding Leo's case. He composed an email to Claire containing the details, then erased it. This was no longer a matter of simply throwing money at the issue. He had to demonstrate to Claire his dedication in ways that truly resonated with her. Upon his arrival at the hospital that evening, he bore no presents, nor did he perform any elaborate acts. Instead, he approached the nurse at Leo's station with a straightforward inquiry. Could you guide me on the correct way to hold him, considering all the tubes and monitors involved? The nurse, Jenny, as indicated by her badge, appeared taken aback, yet she nodded in agreement. Absolutely, Mr. Sterling. Nathan dedicated the following hour to mastering the fundamentals of Leo's care, familiarizing himself with the monitors, understanding when to seek assistance, and learning the proper way to hold him without disrupting his oxygen line. His hands seemed awkward, oversized for such intricate tasks, yet he continued on. Upon Claire's arrival after her shift, she discovered Nathan in an awkward predicament, attempting to change Leo's diaper. His expression was so intensely focused that it nearly brought a smile to her lips. You're approaching it all wrong, she remarked, placing her bag on the ground. Nathan looked up, a flush of embarrassment creeping over him. Putting on a diaper can be done incorrectly. There's certainly an incorrect method to secure the tabs, Claire remarked, moving alongside him to illustrate. Similar to this, as her fingers grazed his while she made adjustments to his work, a fleeting sensation washed over them, reminiscent of the collaboration they once shared, before aspiration and disregard had driven them asunder. Nathan explained that he had come straight from work. I aimed to understand the routines to contribute in some way. Claire's astonishment was unmistakable. I assumed you would simply bring in an expert or something similar. He acknowledged that he reached out to a few experts, the finest cardiac surgeons in the nation. However, that doesn't seem sufficient, does it? Leo requires more than mere medical attention. Claire observed him closely, attempting to make sense of this man in contrast to the husband who had repeatedly prioritized his career over their relationship. This is not a fleeting moment, Nathan. Leo's situation entails a long journey of care, numerous appointments, and potentially additional surgeries. He acknowledged it with a straightforward response. Your history with long-term commitments leaves much to be desired. Nathan recoiled at her words, yet chose not to contest them. I am worthy of that. Yet, transformation is possible, Claire. At times, all it takes is the perfect motivation. Leo started to whine, providing Nathan an escape from Claire's doubtful stare. With a gentle motion, she lifted their son, cradling him against her shoulder as if it were second nature. Nathan mentioned that there's a hospital board meeting scheduled for tomorrow regarding funding for the pediatric cardiac unit. Claire sighed, determined to ensure that Leo's transplant would take precedence. Observe, this is precisely what I am referring to. You continue to seek solutions through your power and wealth. What's the issue with utilizing what I possess to assist our son? Nathan argued. What Leo truly requires from you isn't money or connections, Claire stated, her tone gentle yet resolute. He requires a father who is present, not merely during convenient moments or when he can come in and play the savior. The weight of her words struck Nathan profoundly. He had always held a strong conviction about addressing issues with clarity and purpose. Yet, being a father transcended mere commerce. The matter could not be settled through a signature or a wire transfer. Then tell me what to do, he said, his voice unexpectedly tender. I'm uncertain about how to fulfill his needs. Claire's expression eased just a bit. Begin by being present, not out of obligation but out of desire. You observe his daily habits. You embrace him in his sorrow, even when you can't mend the source of his tears. You prioritize the needs of others over your own. Nathan inclined his head with deliberation. I wish to give it a shot. In the weeks that followed, Nathan crafted a new routine. Each evening after work, he made his way to the hospital, stepping in to care for Leo for a few hours, allowing Claire some much-needed rest, while he immersed himself in every detail of his son's condition. He stood by when Leo faced a night of turmoil, his oxygen levels plummeting to alarming lows. Nathan observed, a sense of powerlessness washing over him as medical staff hurriedly surrounded the small bed. Claire beside him, tears cascading down her cheeks. "Please don't take him," Nathan found himself whispering. "Not now, not when I've just discovered him." Amidst the turmoil, Claire sensed his presence, her hand instinctively reaching for his. They stood side by side, bound by a mix of dread and deep affection for their son, while the medical team worked diligently to stabilize Leo's condition. Later, as Leo drifted back into a serene slumber, Dr. Bennett made his way toward them in the corridor. "We must accelerate the timeline for the transplant," he stated with a serious expression. His heart struggles to maintain its pace. "What actions shall we take?" Nathan inquired, his grip on Claire's hand unwavering. "We wait," Claire replied, her voice empty, "and hold on to the hope that a donor will become available in time." Nathan gazed at their intertwined fingers, then shifted his attention to Claire's weary expression. In that instant, he vowed quietly, not only to Leo but to her too. In this moment, he would embody the figure they required him to become. 2 weeks later, Nathan found himself in his office, gazing at spreadsheets that had previously occupied his every thought. The figures faded into insignificance, overshadowed by the relentless gaze he cast upon the heartbeat monitor displayed on his phone, an application that Claire had hesitantly permitted him to install, granting him access to Leo's essential health metrics. The intercom emitted a buzz. "Mr. Sterling, the investors from Tokyo are on line 1. Let them know I'll return the call tomorrow," Nathan said, as he began to put on his coat. A call had come from the hospital. Leo's condition had worsened overnight. As he drove, Nathan pondered the swift transformations life had undergone. The individual who previously postponed his anniversary dinner for a work obligation now frequently left conference calls abruptly when Leo required his attention. His executive team was perplexed, and his board grew more anxious by the moment. Nathan Sterling, renowned for his relentless dedication to his work, found himself sidetracked, and for the first time ever, he felt indifferent. Upon his arrival at the hospital, he discovered Claire and Dr. Bennett engaged in a quiet discussion just outside Leo's room. Claire's eyes were rimmed with red, her posture slumped in a manner that made Nathan's heart tighten. "What has transpired?" he inquired, stepping into their midst. Bennett's expression was serious. "Leo's heart function has diminished considerably. He's been elevated to the highest priority on the transplant list, but what now?" Nathan insisted. "However, hearts for infants are quite uncommon," Claire concluded, her voice empty. "When they finally become accessible, one must navigate intricate compatibility challenges and logistical considerations." Nathan raked his fingers through his hair, a sense of frustration mounting within him. "Surely there's a course of action we can take." Bennett assured him that all medical measures are being taken. "What remains is beyond our control." Nathan found it difficult to come to terms with that response. In the realm of commerce, opportunities for leverage were ever present, with countless angles waiting to be explored. Yet, in this moment, confronted with the fragility of his son's life, he felt utterly helpless. "May I have the opportunity to see him?" he inquired. Claire gave a slight nod, taking the lead as she entered Leo's room. The infant appeared remarkably tiny, surrounded by the machines that tracked each breath and heartbeat. Nathan moved closer to the crib, softly resting his hand on Leo's chest, sensing the delicate rhythm beneath his palm. "Hey there, my friend," he murmured. "Father has arrived." The term lingered on his tongue, still fresh yet gradually feeling more fitting. Father, that, titles he had never envisioned accepting, now the sole ones that held significance. Claire stood on the other side of the crib, her expression gentle as she observed them. In recent weeks, she had witnessed a remarkable change in Nathan, evident not only in his priorities but also in the manner in which he navigated his surroundings. More humble, less entitled. More giving, less demanding. "I'll stay tonight," Nathan said, gazing up at Claire. "It would be best for you to head home now. Experience genuine rest." She shook her head in disbelief. "Leaving him is not an option for me. In that case, I shall remain as well." They embraced the comforting rhythm they had created, alternating in cradling Leo, whispering gentle words to him, and keeping a watchful eye on his vitals. The hospital staff had become familiar with their presence, navigating the challenges of co-parenting amid their intricate past. As the clock struck midnight and Leo drifted into slumber, Claire gently disrupted the serene quietude. "You've caught me off guard, I must say." Nathan lifted his gaze from the medical journal he had been engrossed in. "In what way?" "I never expected you to stay this long," she confessed, "particularly when things became difficult and there were no easy solutions." "I wouldn't want to be anywhere else," he stated plainly. Claire observed him intently. "The Nathan I was married to would have entrusted this to the finest doctors available," then returned to his work. He closed the journal, declaring, "I'm not that man anymore. Perhaps I am. Yet, Leo transformed a part of me, Claire, helped me recognize what truly holds significance." Before she had a chance to reply, Dr. Bennett burst into the room, his face reflecting a blend of urgency and optimism. He declared, "We possess a heart. A compatible donor has been found in Seattle." Claire gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "When can we expect it?" "The surgical team is currently in the process of preparation. Arrangements are being made for the transport of the organ." Bennett glanced at his watch. "We will start getting Leo ready in the next hour." Nathan rose, a rush of adrenaline coursing through him. "What are the possibilities, the uncertainties?" Bennett explained that transplant surgery carries inherent risks, particularly when it involves an infant. However, Leo's prospects without it are significantly diminished. Nathan acknowledged with a nod, shifting his gaze to Claire. Across the room, their eyes locked in a silent exchange. Both reflect a dance of fear and hope. Nathan expressed his belief with unwavering certainty. "He'll make it. He possesses a strength beyond our understanding." The following hours unfolded in a whirlwind of motion. Consent forms, pre-surgical protocols, final moments with Leo before the nurses escorted him away. As they pushed the small crib toward the operating room, Claire grasped Nathan's hand, holding it firmly. They trailed closely, halting at the doors designated for authorized personnel only. A nurse assured that she would provide updates during the entire procedure. "This is it," Claire murmured as the doors shut softly behind their son. In that moment, standing in the sterile hospital corridor, Nathan felt an overwhelming mix of terror and connection, not only to Leo but also to Claire, the woman he had once promised to cherish, only to gradually push aside as his ambition took center stage. Time seemed to drag on interminably in the surgical waiting room. Claire moved restlessly, alternating between sitting and pacing. Nathan brought coffee that neither of them could bear to drink. They exchanged few words, their connection forged in a silence heavy with unspoken fears. As the surgical doors swung open at last, Claire found herself holding her breath. Nathan stood, his heart racing with a fervor that felt as if it echoed in the silence around him. "Physician." Bennett made his way over. With his surgical mask lowered, his eyes revealed a mix of fatigue and brightness. He declared that the surgery had gone well. Leo's new heart pulses with vigor. Claire fell into Nathan's embrace, tears of relief streaming down her face. He instinctively enveloped her in his embrace, supporting her as his own feelings surged within him, threatening to take control. After years apart, Nathan embraced the woman he had once cherished, not as a husband grasping for control, but as a father experiencing the most significant moment of his existence. The initial week following Leo's transplant unfolded in a careful haze, as Nathan and Claire kept their watchful eyes peeled for any indication of rejection or complication. Every encouraging update from the doctors seemed like a new breath of fresh air they could finally embrace. By the second week, Leo's extraordinary strength of character became evident. His complexion brightened, his breaths became more even, and the devices encircling his bed slowly diminished as he regained his strength. "He is surpassing what we anticipated." "Physician," Bennett shared with them one morning while making his rounds. "His body is embracing the new heart wonderfully." Claire offered a weary smile, the weeks of concern reflected in the dark circles under her eyes. "When will we be able to bring him home? Should he persist in this manner, maybe in a fortnight," Bennett responded. It is essential to ensure that the immunosuppressants are meticulously balanced. Nathan, engrossed in his phone as he sifted through his emails, finally lifted his gaze. 14 days? So soon? Bennett gave a slight nod. Leo embodies the spirit of a warrior. Once the doctor departed, Nathan sat in silence, his gaze fixed on his son, a myriad of emotions swirling within him. What seems to be the issue? Claire inquired, observing the tension etched on his forehead. Everything's fine, he replied hastily. It's simply residence. I came to understand that I'm uncertain about what that entails for Leo. For our benefit. The inquiry lingered in the air, brimming with untold potential. They had operated as a cohesive unit throughout the turmoil, yet neither had confronted the implications of what lay ahead. Claire confessed that she hadn't considered that yet. I have dedicated all my attention to ensuring he makes it through the surgery. Nathan paused, weighing his words carefully before he began to speak. I desire to be included in his life, Claire. It's more than just hospital visits and medical choices. All things. Could you clarify how that would function precisely? She inquired, her tone measured. Your penthouse isn't particularly suited for little ones. Your timetable has consistently overlooked the needs of family life. I can alter that, Nathan remarked. I have already begun. It was indeed true. In the last month, Nathan entrusted greater responsibilities to his executive team, eliminated unnecessary travel, and reorganized his workday to conclude by 6. His board members expressed their concerns. His competitors watched with intrigue. Yet Nathan was realizing that the empire he had constructed could thrive without his unwavering oversight. I've been exploring houses, he continued, as Claire remained silent. A location nearer to the hospital, featuring a yard, a place for nurturing young minds. Claire gazed at him, her expression one of astonishment. You truly mean business with this? I have never approached anything with such seriousness before. He edged nearer, mindful to lower his voice as he approached Leo's bedside. I understand that the past is unchangeable, yet I have the power to embrace the present moment. Not out of obligation, simply because I desire to. Claire observed him intently, seeking the familiar Nathan, the one who had made unfulfilled promises, who valued achievement above genuine relationships. Instead, she perceived an unfamiliar presence, a person who understood the essence of commitment, returning consistently not for accolades or gain, but driven by a deep affection. Perhaps we could approach this gradually, she finally suggested, extending her hand towards his. Nathan's fingers enveloped hers, radiating warmth and strength. He nodded, taking it one step at a time. The upcoming weeks defined their new routine. As Leo healed, Nathan reshaped his existence with the same fervor he previously dedicated to his professional pursuits. He transformed his home office into a nursery, enlisted the help of a pediatric nurse for the transition, and even took the time to master the preparation of the special formula that Leo needed. Claire regarded these changes with a hopeful yet careful eye. She had experienced pain in the past, witnessing Nathan's passion for their relationship diminish as his job required more of his focus. Yet, this time felt distinct, more stable, less focused on extravagant displays, and more centered on a steady, reliable presence. The moment had arrived to welcome Leo back, not to Claire's cozy apartment or Nathan's lavish penthouse, but to the house Nathan had acquired, a resolution they had come to after extensive conversations. Claire would keep her own residence, yet spend most nights at the house to help Leo adjust. Welcome home, little man, Nathan murmured softly as they brought Leo inside through the front door. He had firmly asserted his desire to be the one to hold him for this significant moment, cradling the baby with a newfound assurance that would have seemed unfathomable just months earlier. That evening, after placing Leo in his crib with all the monitors meticulously arranged, Claire discovered Nathan on the back porch, gazing at the sunset. He's fast asleep, she remarked, settling in beside him. Nathan beamed with delight. It's astonishing how swiftly he bounced back. He possesses a strength reminiscent of his mother. Claire rested against the railing next to him. His father is the source of his stubbornness. The serene quiet that enveloped them felt refreshing, devoid of unvoiced grievances or the interruptions of work, but rather tranquil and mutually embraced. "Thank you," Nathan said abruptly. "What for?" "For not abandoning me entirely. Thank you for the update, Leo." He pivoted to meet her gaze. "I understand that I may not be worthy of another opportunity." Claire's demeanor became gentler. "This isn't a matter of worthiness, Nathan. It revolves around making choices. Each day you make the decision to stand by Leo's side. That is what holds significance at this moment. And for you," he inquired softly, "is there a way for me to regain your trust?" She paused, her eyes drifting back to the horizon where the sun was sinking. "Rebuilding trust is a gradual process. However, Claire glanced at him, a subtle smile gracing her lips. "Yet, I've observed the transformation you've undergone. Your commitment to prioritizing Leo and your unwavering presence during challenging times speaks volumes. That's an excellent point of departure." Nathan held back the impulse to seek further details. They had come to a consensus, one step at a time. Once a man who hurried through life in pursuit of the next achievement, he was now discovering the significance of patience. As the shadows deepened, they returned indoors to see how Leo was doing one last time before Claire headed to her apartment. As they stood side by their son's crib, observing the gentle rise and fall of his breathing, Nathan experienced a profound sense of fulfillment that no achievement in his career had ever matched. This was the essence of importance. This was genuine. And whatever lay ahead for him and Claire, he was unwaveringly certain that he would never again overlook what was genuinely important. Half a year post-transplant, the trees in the quaint park were adorned with autumn's vibrant hues as Nathan pushed his son's stroller. Leo, almost a year old, gurgled joyfully from his seat, gesturing at the descending leaves with his plump little fingers. His cheeks glowed with vitality, a stark contrast to the delicate infant who had battled fiercely for life. "Indeed, those are leaves," Nathan articulated with calmness, bending down to retrieve a strikingly colorful maple leaf. "Look at this one, it's red." Leo snatched the leaf, eager to taste it right away. Nathan softly guided his son's gaze to a squirrel scurrying along their path, appreciating how effortlessly these moments had woven into their lives. The individual who previously found it difficult to allocate even 5 minutes for a personal conversation now dedicated countless hours on the floor engaging in peekaboo, revisiting the same board books time and again, and exploring the deep philosophical questions surrounding pureed carrots in comparison to pureed peas. His phone vibrated in his pocket, likely another call from the office. Nathan had made his triumphant return to work full-time last month, but this time it was on his own terms. Say goodbye to 80-hour weeks, weekend meetings, and those late-night calls from international partners. He redefined Sterling Investments by assembling a more robust executive team, establishing himself as a strategic advisor instead of overseeing every decision with a fine-tooth comb. The business media had engaged in fervent speculation regarding this metamorphosis, shifting from a merciless corporate powerhouse to a more measured leader. There were those who foresaw the company's demise. On the contrary, employee satisfaction rose, and the more cooperative strategy genuinely enhanced their market standing. Nathan noticed Claire making her way toward him from across the park, her hair dancing in the wind as she greeted him with a wave. Every time he laid eyes on her, a sensation gripped his heart, a blend of sorrow for what once was and a flicker of optimism for what could be. Over the past months, they had crafted a harmonious co-parenting routine. Claire ultimately parted with her apartment, relocating to the guest wing of the residence Nathan had acquired. They enjoyed meals together, navigated parenting responsibilities, and increasingly experienced authentic moments of connection that brought Nathan back to their early days, before ambition had taken over his life. "Apologies for my tardiness," Claire remarked, leaning down to plant a kiss on Leo's forehead. The transition between shifts extended beyond what was anticipated. Nathan gave a slight shake of his head. "We're simply savoring the weather, taking our time." She matched their pace as they moved down the path, their shoulders lightly grazing against one another from time to time. The casual touches had lost their awkwardness. They had started to resemble friends once more, their mutual commitment to Leo mending past hurts gradually over time. "What was he like last night?" Claire inquired. After a long night at the hospital, she entrusted Leo to Nathan's watchful eye. "Flawless. We read Goodnight Moon 3 times, and then he drifted off until 6. Nathan beamed with delight. This morning he rolled over twice. I captured it on video. Claire's expression brightened. It's astonishing to witness his growing strength. Physician Bennett claims his most recent tests are flawless, straight out of a textbook. They arrived at a quaint playground, where Nathan gently lifted Leo from the stroller, steadying him as he wobbled on his uncertain legs. The sheer joy radiating from the baby during this uncomplicated activity was contagious, eliciting smiles from both parents. As they observed Leo's exploration, Claire mused, "I've been thinking." Nathan's hands lingered close, a shield of protection in the air. The housing market is on the rise once more. I may begin exploring options for locations next month. Nathan experienced an unexpected emptiness in his chest. It's time for you to pack up and leave. I believe the moment has arrived. She tucked her hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture that lingered in his memory from their time together. We discovered our flow with Leo. The guest wing was intended to be a short-term solution. It's going smoothly, Nathan remarked, making an effort to sound nonchalant. Leo embodies a sense of stability. A single household, two guardians. Indeed, however, Claire paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. This intricate, Nathan, coexisting without truly connecting. I have my doubts about its long-term health implications. Nathan assisted Leo in rising once more, seizing the opportunity to collect his reflections. The recent months revealed to him his true desires, not merely to be Leo's father, but to restore what he had once thoughtlessly cast aside with Claire. He had been mindful not to overstep, honoring the limits she had set. What if we gave it another shot? Claire inquired abruptly, her question so unforeseen that Nathan almost dropped Leo. What is happening? He pivoted to meet her gaze, probing her features for meaning. Claire inhaled deeply. What if we gave it another shot? It's not merely about cohabiting for Leo's benefit. It's about truly being together, in a meaningful way. Nathan gazed at her, hesitant to let himself dream. Is that something you desire? Following all that has transpired? Over the past few months, I've observed you, she said softly. Your transformation for our son is truly remarkable. The person standing before me is the embodiment of the potential I always believed you could achieve. I hurt you, Nathan said, the confession aching yet essential. I prioritized everything else over our marriage. Indeed, Claire concurred. I'm not suggesting we pick up right where we paused, but perhaps we can embark on a fresh journey, something even more fulfilling. In that instant, Leo erupted with a joyful squeal, tumbling into Nathan's embrace. With impeccable timing, their son eased the tension, prompting laughter from both parents. Nathan cradled Leo tightly against his chest, his gaze fixed on Claire. I may not be worthy of this second chance, he admitted sincerely, but if you're open to it, there's nothing I desire more. Claire's smile was cautious yet sincere. Taking it one day at a time? He nodded in agreement, taking it one day at a time. She approached him deliberately, giving him the chance to retreat if he so desired. Instead, Nathan stayed motionless, while Claire gently leaned in, placing a tender kiss on his cheek. No guarantees we can't fulfill, she murmured, simply being present each day for Leo and for one another. Nathan nodded, grappling with a surge of unexpected emotion. This time I will hold on tight. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they collected their belongings and made their way home. Not the pristine penthouse Nathan had once imagined symbolized achievement, but the inviting, occasionally tumultuous home that embraced his family. As Leo rested against his shoulder, Claire strolled alongside him, and in that moment, Nathan Sterling grasped a profound truth. Genuine wealth transcends mere currency. The conclusion lacked the charm of a fairy tale. Disagreements would arise, old wounds requiring time to mend, and the persistent challenges of nurturing a child with unique medical needs would remain ever present. Yet it was genuine, and it belonged to them, a family restored not through duty or facade, but through the everyday decision to love, to forgive, and to focus on what truly held significance. Upon arriving at their front door, Claire's hand effortlessly sought his, their fingers weaving together in a harmonious embrace. "Welcome home," she murmured gently. And at last, Nathan genuinely was. Have you felt the impact of Nathan and Claire's path toward redemption and new beginnings? Their narrative illustrates that it's always possible to reconstruct what holds the greatest significance. If Leo's struggle for survival and Nathan's journey from a work-focused life to being a dedicated father struck a chord with you, I invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. Pass this video along to someone who could use a nudge, reminding them that transformation is possible with the right inspiration. If you found this emotional journey of family, forgiveness, and new beginnings moving, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Join us on our channel for more uplifting tales that highlight the essence of what is truly important in life. I'm intrigued. Which country are you tuning in from? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know if the story brought to mind someone from your own experiences.